All right, excellent. Let's jump right into it here.
Today, I think I can show you a little bit of what this is supposed to look like. And we've started building a C# language binding for the AppDevPack, and we're currently at a very, I think, a very convenient stage where we have all the base components that we need implemented. So we have the server communication classes. We can work with document collections with documents and items. We can run agents. We can read and write attachments. And we have, from my perspective, a very good test client available that will also be as a reference project that will be part of this as soon as it gets available. We have security components implemented for IAM and the certificates-based authentication. And the only thing that we're currently dealing with and not happy with, and we had this discussion before with Lars and a couple of others, is the rich text part. We have the rough bindings as we see them in the existing 107 release of the AppDevPack available, so you can deal with CD records in and out. And if you're familiar with these data structure, God bless you, but I don't see anybody out there besides maybe a couple in the community really working with this. This is not really something you can hand off to a C# developer that never got in touch with Domino. So we're currently working on something that's more related to an HTML CD record conversion. Whoever had the happy job of dealing with something like that knows that this is something that's quite heavy work, and we're still working on that. So this is something that people are still working on. Our first impressions of what we have built so far is we have it's lightning fast from C#. So I think the C# implementation for gRPC is really, really fast. I see the performance is from our internal testing with the same results is 30% better than Node.js and the Java bindings. So this is really huge. And I don't think this is due to the great programming of my guys here. It's more of the gRPC implementation of Windows. That's basically a lot better in .NET framework than it is on the other stacks potentially. What we came up with is we took a little different approach on the API itself, and I'll go through that when we go through the code. And but the bigger thing for that, our plan is to have this done from a development perspective within the second quarter of this year, and we would like to get it out on OpenATF as well. So this would be a publicly available interface for everyone. So this is the intention of it. This is the current class model that we have with it. I hope you'll memorize it because I'm asking a couple of things at the end of this. No, just kidding. To give you an impression of the code, these are some code samples. This is the easiest way, an unsecure connection to a Domino server, right? So you would just like declare a new server, give it the DNS name and the Proton port. You would open a database defining a global DB statement, and then you do a document collection, for example. And what you see maybe in that code, and this is the sample for a query and how you walk through these documents, a lot of the old farts like me in the community would recognize those kind of things. We're trying to relate the API here on C# to the loader script world. And what you also can see here is that we took away another level of complexity that I think holds back a lot of people, especially coming from the loader script environment, moving to Node.js and Java. So all the asynchronous call mechanisms that you would expect, like await and async functions, are hidden under the covers. We're using, of course, all the goodies of gRPC, of asynchronous calls, but for the current implementation, we decided to hide this underneath the covers, so you don't have to keep track of asynchronous calls yourself. That is one option, and we have another implementation of it as well, where we give this up to the consuming layer as well, so you can make use of asynchronous calls with your own environment. But from the customers we've been working with, they found this a lot easier to digest, and that's why we decided to go with this as an idea. And we would love to hear some feedback from you guys what would be a desirable way for you if you want to have both options, if you want to have just one option, if this is a favorable way for you, or if you would do it differently. So that's something that we definitely go within the second quarter, within the beta release, we definitely want to have feedback upon. A couple of things, an update and kind of other stuff. I don't think we need to go through the code. I think it's better that we could just go through a demo. And this is a sample database. It's the same basic database that comes with the AppDevPack as the sample database. And I'm just now launching a C# program, a Windows program natively reading this database. Okay, and of course my Domino servers, my guys stopped my Domino server. Perfect. And so I need, for our demo server, I need to quickly get my Proton task up and running, of course, right? Other than that, it's a little bit different to show something on Proton if the Proton task is not running. And here we go. Let's try that again. And here comes the application. And this is basically at the test client that I was talking to. And if you see that, we have a query going, or we read out a basic view of documents with 200 documents from a remote server. So this is a remote server. This is not my machine here on my development machine, but this is a remote Domino server. And of course, I can do queries in this. And you see that this is pretty fast from a DQL perspective. Of course, I can do all kind of updates. So that's, for example, as we don't have John Curtis in here, our DQL guard, let's create him. And you see this is already carried out right over here. So we do some refreshing in the backend as well. And if we look for John over here in our database, he should pop up as well. It should pop up as well. There we go. Okay, so here we have John Curtis as well. And of course, we do all other operations on this data set. We can replace items. We can copy the document. We also have support for all the field flags that you're used to in Notes and Domino. And of course, you can delete the record as well. If you take that away and refresh the search over here, then the document's gone, right? So all of the basic stuff is there. We can run agents in context of specific documents. As you would mention, we have an internal we have a data structure in here that just shows the data going back and forth in a JSON format. And also the internal format that contains all the other stuff like the flags of the fields and all those kind of things. And what's coming in handy as well, I think, is we have built the explain query tool into the testing client as well. So you can have, you can build your DQL queries and run them against your Domino server and your database to see your matches and how long things take. So this is all built into this client for you. You can read attachments. You can create response documents and all those kind of things. So all of these sample stuff that is in this thing here will be a C# reference project that will go out on GitHub for you to look it up and use. So that's basically the part that I wanted to show for the C# bindings. As I said, we've gone and then just take a quick look at how this was built. We have, from an architectural side, we have our Domino server and the Proton task sitting on top of that. And then we have gRPC communication from our application to the Proton task. And there's a library, a core library of interfaces that HCL generates for us, which more or less converts the gRPC object structure into the core bindings of for the specific languages. So we have these core interfaces available for JavaScript and Java already in the AppDevPack, and HCL was so nice to generate those for C# for us as well. This is an imminent feature of gRPC. So whatever gRPC structure you use, you can literally build the core implementations of a language automatically from gRPC. And we have then started to build our own class model on top of these core components and hiding all the more complex document and object structure underneath the covers into a specific class model. And this also describes the discussion that we're going to have soon with HCL, because for this model to work, we have to use some code that HCL delivers, which is currently not public domain or open source, not public domain, but open source. And so we have to come up with an agreement and see how, and maybe Jason is still here to talk to this about this as the leader of the open source community in HCL, how we can achieve this to get these components here also open source, so we can use them inside of our inside of an open source language binding for the AppDevPack. But these are some of the discussions that we have to go through within the next couple of months, as soon as we start finishing development and testing. Okay, so quick look at some other things, and this is also something that came out of the last year or the last 3 years of experience within our with the course and everything that came afterwards. We had lots of people trying to adopt the AppDevPack got stuck on the SSL front, right? So a lot of people had problems like figuring out, how do I work with these SSL certificates? What's SSL certificates go where? How do I implement them? How do I build them? Why do I do this on the console, and so forth? And this is also why we came up with an idea to bring in a little NSF that takes away the pain of dealing with this. And we call it Certman NSF. And this is also something we intend to publish on OpenNTF as soon as possible. And basically what it does, it creates and manages your private certificate authorities. It helps you manage your certificates for people and servers. It will create cure files for you. It will import the user certificates that you have built back into the Domino address book. And it will also be able to update the AppDevPack configuration settings for a server, for example. And also we will have built-in agents that keep you informed about expiration dates of your certificates and have you reissuing new ones or recertifying them. And also we have had a lot of customers, especially in the demo environments, that lost their certificates because they were sitting on a hard drive somewhere, and by all means got lost somewhere. And whenever you need the CA that you created the certificates with, it might be gone. So it also gives you a single store where you can find all of those things. And let's go through that sample as well, so you can get an idea of what's behind this as well. So this is the certification application manager application as it is today. And I have one certificate authority created here that we will use later, but I can show you how easy it is to create a new one. So we'll just hit this document, and I'll just call this for an organizational layer. I will call it like my Canadian company. It's going to be Harborlight, and the common name would be also root CA. And I don't want to keep this for 1 year, but for 10 years. I click close, save, and I have a new one. And then I just click on one button, and with this, I have my certificate, my authority created, right? So everything I need for that is done. Now, if I want to use this one, I'm going to start by creating a new server. And for that, I can just hook it up to my address book, and it will just pick out a new server, an existing server that I have. When I have that one, I have to prepare it and say, okay, if I want to create a certificate, with which authority do I want to create this one? I'm going to use this one. Then we will create the certificates for the server, which is over here. And you can see, you can also set your cure file passwords in here. You can have your cure file name defined, and a couple of other things. And when I click here on create the server cure file, this gets created as well. And this is how long it takes you with this application to create all the certificates for a server that should run the Proton task. Now we don't stop here. You can define here your Proton config server and your Proton config database. And then we can, with one click, we can deploy the whole configuration, including SSL, to the respective server. And this will be, and your SSL certificates are set up for the server. So that's basically it. And you keep all the things that you need are in one place. Same thing goes for people. So I can, for example, do a user import here. Can import one user. Before I do that, let's check out that user. Yes, thank you, nothing selected. So this is gonna be Hugo, one of our demo users. If I look at my internet certificates, he doesn't have any. If I wanna make this user a technical app user in the AppDevPack, the only thing I need to do is to import him from my address book. I want this. Well, where do we have him? There he is, and I get him imported. And of course, I have to tell the system which certificate authority I want to generate the certificates with. Then this one is prepared, and I create the certificates. And they're here as well. So if you go into this, we see you have the key file, we have the certificate, we have the passwords, all of that is set up automatically. And then this is one thing that I have to do manually. Now I can reload this certificate into the address book by clicking this action button right here, and we're done. If you go back into the address book now and check for the certificate in here, the internet certificate is here and that's there and available, right? So it's all in there without me going with one thing to the console or with one console command to do that. This will all be covered by this application in here, and there will also be some automation here, so you can have you can have multiple users imported here, and you can have multiple organizations imported here, and also be taking and carrying out these imports to the NAP with different settings as well. So that's the basic idea, to take the pain away from creating and managing your certificates for the AppDevPack. And I think that concludes the second piece of what I wanted to show you. As I said, this is also to be expected within the second quarter, so April, May timeframe probably. We're currently testing on different versions. We're currently building Windows version and a Linux version of it, so we can have that running on both environments that the AppDevPack supports. And then we'll have to talk to OpenNTF how we get this out into the market. That's it.